Surry County Board of Commissioners meeting to order at this time. I'd like to recognize Kevin Reese, Rhonda Town Commissioner, for being here with us tonight. We'd like to recognize other officials, and we appreciate you being here from Wilkes County. At this time, I'll ask Commissioner Mary Johnson to give the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, as we come to thee in prayer this evening, we wish to give thee much thanks for our safe journey here, our protection. Thankful for this country of the United States of America and for what the freedoms we have, especially, Father, this season that we have the citizens can voice their concerns and their opinions and vote for the things that they know is to be right. We ask that thou wilt bless this country, this state, and this county. We're thankful for the blessings that thou hast given us. We are blessed to live here in this county. We pray for those who take care of us and protect us. Ask that will bless them to keep them out of harm's way. We ask that will be with us during this time as we meet at this county commissioners meeting, that the things that we discuss and ponder and decide this night will be for the betterment of Surry County. These things we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Degrees today. This time, looking for approval of this evening's agenda.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Marion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm looking for approval of the October 17th, 2022 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Harris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tucker. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Our consent agenda, I'll let our County Manager, Chris Knopf, go over those bullet points.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a number of items here this evening. The first is a National American Indian Heritage Month proclamation as requested by the Daughters of the American Revolution. Next item is remote court proceedings cabling project request. This is to provide video ability to the courtrooms at the Judicial Center, and it's a project that's occurring statewide. Next is the Health Department truck and trailer storage building request, which would take place on the Government Center campus just down the road here. Next is nurse positions reclassification request. Next item is a DSS employees overtime pay request. Next, Hurricane Ian recovery efforts, possible staffing request. This is for forward planning for deployments in the future of our personnel to disaster areas across North Carolina as requested by the State Emergency Management Agency. Next are amendments to fiscal year 23 budget amendments number 2 and number 3 that were previously approved. Next is an amendment to fiscal year 23 budget amendment, which would be number 4. The private sale of totaled vehicles valued under $30,000 is the next item. Next, there's a little bit of a typo on the agenda, but that word permanently shouldn't be there. It should just say select Rogers Realty for surplus item auctions. This is anything outside vehicles that we've been using them for. We have a large collection of other items that the purchasing officer would like to dispose of. Next is Mount Airy High School CTE renovations capital project ordinance. And finally, financial policies amendment request from the Finance Department. And that's the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Marion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. This time we'll have our open forum, give citizens time to come forward and talk about just about anything concerning county business or what they have on their mind. You state your name, the telephone number. We'll give you 3 minutes, and we ask that you stay at that 3-minute mark.
I'm an attorney. I've never been limited to 3 minutes, but I will stay within that time. I'm Don Vaughn. I'm an attorney out of Greensboro, also a professor of state and local government at Wake Forest Law School, but I'm here as an attorney today representing a number of the citizens over here that need your help. I was also your opioid lawyer, and I'm pleased that you've gotten the first 2 checks on that. That's total happenstance and a lot more coming. Heather Moore is known to all of y'all here and several of the others. Heather, why don't you come up and explain the request you're making tonight?
Heather Moore, 336-786-6164. The 1990 NCDOT case study for the creation of the scenic byways states, it is hoped that residents in rural counties or communities would see the need to protect their heritage for the general welfare of the whole by passing laws to protect the visual corridors of scenic byways without placing undue hardship on themselves. We feel there's a need to protect the rural communities along the Sourtown Mountain Scenic Byway from urbanization. For example, from Mount Airy city limits to the Stokes County line, there are 14 commercially zoned properties. Of those 14, only 4 of those are currently operational. As Commissioner Johnson pointed out in July, all of those properties were family owned when they were rezoned. The most recent being rezoned in 1988. Surry County's first land use plan wasn't until 2000, and countywide zoning wasn't enacted until 2001. A lot has changed in our zoning laws in the past 34 years. We need to take steps now to help protect and preserve the visual corridors of our scenic byway. As commissioners, you've already recognized the importance of preserving this section of byway. In April of 2020, Commissioner Marion made a motion, second by Commissioner Goings, to approve a resolution to extend and rename the Hanging Rock Scenic Byway, now known as the Sourtown Mountain Scenic Byway. The first step to obtaining national byway recognition. The byway now begins at Independence Boulevard and Main Street in downtown Mount Airy. In September of 2020, a revision was made to that resolution and presented before you. This time, the motion to approve was by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. As a business owner along the scenic byway, we serve over 500 Surry residents a day. I am confident in saying the majority of those residents see the need to protect and preserve their heritage by passing laws that'll protect this byway. Please help us to protect and preserve our scenic byway. Thank you.
Hi. Good to see you guys. My name is Mandy Love. My number is 704-677-8800. As stated before, my family home is along the scenic byway of the Sourtown Mountain. My little community that I grew up in and still come back to visit every weekend is extremely important to me. The National Scenic Byway Foundation states that you build on the strengths of the byway, not the weaknesses. When we look for weaknesses, we overlook the human, organizational, or natural community assets. We need to address the concerns a community has where byways run because they bring in state, national, and yes, international visitors. We have to focus on the strengths and opportunities of the community to improve the byway that already exists. Byways should lead visitors seeking authentic experiences into communities where the visitors support small businesses. Owners, they shop in locally owned stores and they dine in the restaurants and lodge in local establishments. Mount Airy, Pilot Mountain, Elkin have really come alive lately. I love coming back to visit almost every weekend. The byway should be the same way. It should draw people to explore those sections of our county, to enjoy the drive along the ridge, and to support the small communities along the way. So I implore you guys to think about helping to protect our byway.
That's it for us.
Hello,
My name is Kevin Reese. I'm from Rhonda, North Carolina. I grew up in, half of my teenage years was in Surry County. Majority of my family lives off of Twin Oaks Road on Stanley Mill Road. I've spoke to my dad on the way here. I've spoke to majority of my family members that live in Surry County, and they agree with what I want to talk to the board about. The town of Rhonda, we voted in August on sanctity of life, recognizing that we believe that life begins at conception. I'm here tonight to speak out to you guys on the people that can't speak out, the unborn children. I understand your board has considered passing sanctity of life. It's my belief that many people are coming into the state of North Carolina from other states to murder children. I'd like to see this board consider speaking out on behalf of the county to recognize how important the unborn children are. I'd like for this board to consider passing sanctity of life. That's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
Anyone else for open forum? I'll close the open forum. Chris Knopf, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item is we have a public hearing this evening on Project Cobra. This is an economic development project that the board has had previous discussions with the EDP in closed session regarding. And the public hearing tonight is to hear comment on a proposed $36,224 appropriation by the county for industrial development. A private corporation proposes a direct investment of $1,969,710. A source of funding for the improvement and the possible incentive is the county's general fund reserves. Public benefit to be derived from making such improvement includes the expansion of the county's tax base, creation of new jobs within the county, and improvement of the general employment outlook for our citizens. Public hearing shall be used as a forum to hear public comment on the proposed project so that the board can evaluate the value of the project to Surry County and its citizens. Todd Tucker, President of the Surry County Economic Development Partnership, could not be here this evening. He's been sick, but he did submit a letter, which each of you have a copy of regarding the project and the perspective of the EDP. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I'll close our regular meeting and open a public hearing on Project Cobra. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may come forward and do so. Just state your name and telephone number.
J.T. Henson, telephone number 336-775-2101. I don't know what the purpose of this public hearing is. Have no idea. I read what was in the paper, and it's almost an insult to the collective intelligence of the citizens of Surry County to ask us to weigh in on a project when we don't have enough information to make an informed decision. Where's the warehousing? Is it only in Mount Airy, Pilot Mountain, Westfield, Siloam? I don't know anything about the company. Don't know where it is. Don't have enough information to make an intelligent decision. But I do know that incentives have a lot of close cousins. And those cousins are bribery, got a mental animal. There's bribery. Couple other things. Now, another thing I would ask is, what is a probability of this company packing up and going home if you don't get the money and leaving Surry County? Do we have an answer for that? I don't know. I'm not against incentives, but we're asked to weigh in on something and we don't have enough information to do it. Just don't have enough information. I'd like to have some information. I rather suspect that the decision has already been made and it's just for public show. We cloak it in secrecy. We don't know what it is. Who's benefiting? Is Dobson going to get, are they going to kick in some money? Pilot Mountain? Elkin? Who has an answer for that? I don't know. Those are questions that I have. And I would love to hear an answer. The other thing is blackmail. We get blackmailed. We know what that is. Thank you.
I'm just gonna read, I'll read just the excerpt. I'm not gonna read what Todd wrote in his introduction, but Project Cobra is a local company looking to consolidate its warehouse distribution operations in one location. Their Mount Airy location is in competition with locations in South Carolina and Alabama. They currently have 63 full-time employees at their Mount Airy location that would be lost if another location was chosen. In addition, if the Mount Airy location is chosen, they will add approximately 35 new jobs and invest over $1.9 million in building improvements and new machinery and equipment. This company has a long history with Surry County and the city of Mount Airy. We believe that based on the retention of existing jobs, creation of new jobs, and investing in improvements along with new machinery and equipment at their current facility makes this a good project to invest local incentives. The proposed incentives are performance-based, meaning they will only receive them once the new investment and jobs have been created and retained. We believe this is a good use of Surry County's incentive program. We need to help keep our existing industry strong and competitive with increasing competition, the ever-changing economic conditions. This incentive will help keep people working and create new opportunities for others, as well as add new value to Surry County tax records. Is that good, JT? That's a start. Okay, thank you. Anyone else for comment on the public hearing? At this time, I'll close the public hearing and go back to our regular meeting. Gentlemen, I'm looking for a motion on Project Cobra. On the resolution to adopt.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Johnson made the motion. I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that that I think it's always been incumbent upon this board to support small business in Surry County. I think small business carries the water from a tax perspective in this nation and from an employment perspective. The Surry County Economic Development Partnership has done a great job representing Surry County in negotiating and pursuing new business opportunities for our citizens and for companies to expand and relocate here. Since my time on the board, incentives have been all over the place. When I came on the board, there was an incentive package, roughly $9–10 million for a company in Elkin. And so since that time, there seems to be competition and bidding wars and things that we were accustomed to years ago seems to have diminished to a very respectable level. And these incentives are typically always in the last several years for Surry County have been performance-based. And what that means is unless this company performs and does what they say they're going to do, they don't receive the incentives. They don't receive the taxpayers' money. So I think these performance-based incentives are good, and I think this is a good opportunity for Surry County. And I intend to be in support of this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
And I'll follow up and say that, when I first ran for office, I guess I had an unrealistic view, bringing a company bring 200 jobs into Surry County. I don't know if that'll happen. I don't know, we could supply the labor force. So for them to create 35 jobs, they'll have to work to create 35 jobs. If you're, I can look out across this room, some of you involved in business and I was an educator. I still work because I can't find people to teach anymore. You know, I've heard Commissioner Tucker talk about labor. The county deals with that. We're short detention officers. We're short county staff because we simply cannot find them. So we need to keep businesses, our businesses are here. And if we can help them with an incentive, then we need to do that. And we've done that with several companies to try to strengthen our position and to keep our employees here. So I'm in support of this, in support of Project Cobra.
Yeah, I'll just chime in and say that the key to this is, and probably wasn't in the paper in regard to some public comments tonight. You know, there's only 2 or 3 reasons you can meet in closed session. One's legal, one's economic development, one's personnel. This met under economic development because these people don't like to let their competitors know what their strategic plan is on going forward and what their expansion might be. They might have another sister competitor quarter of a mile down the road, or maybe sometimes even across the street. And if they let loose their hand and tell everybody what they're going to do and what kind of deal they're going to get out of the county for doing it, they might be the first ones to spring first. But if the secret's out and out of the bag, then for competitive reasons, sometimes these deals blow up. So, you know, even though we all like to say we like to talk about all these things in public, we do. That's why we're having a public hearing. But sometimes you can't talk about them too quickly because the North Carolina General Assembly allows 3 categories in which you don't talk about or even have people coming to you wanting some kind of incentive to have to talk about publicly for simply the protection of that entity and the potential growth that you might, that company might have. And what putting that information out in public before you went to a closed session and made a deal and said, we'll give you this kind of performance and we'll build this many square feet and we'll add this many jobs if you'll give us this much incentives. And when I came on the board, we used to give incentives through the North Carolina, at the time, Department of Commerce. It was based on how many employees a company could hire and how long they would retain them. It was retention of employees. Boy, did we get a hard lesson on that. We realized that Surry County government cannot be the policeman of how long a company keeps an individual employed, or what's the definition between a part-time employee or a full-time employee or a part-time equivalent. So we gave that up long ago. And most counties and most local governments have given up on tying these incentives to the employment and how long you retain this employment, because a company can say whatever they're going to do and have all good intentions. And then something like COVID comes along and you throw all that out the window. You have absolutely no ability to do that anymore. So what this is it is a proposed incentive. And let me tell you what a proposed incentive usually comes in the form of now. Unless they build these things and do these things and expand in these ways, these companies that come to us for these offers, then we don't give them an in-kind match of the same amount of money that the property tax would generate once that stuff is built and it goes on the tax books and increases their ability to be taxed. So the way I look at this is, if they don't build it, if they don't come, if they don't perform, then they get nothing, because the only way they'd ever get any incentive would be an in-kind match on what the extra tax, property tax would be. So what have we got to lose? If they don't build it, we don't charge them anymore. If they do build it, instead of charging them the extra tax for a 5-year period, we're going to give them a part of that tax fee back instead of charging them county taxes on it. And I think it's a good deal for everybody. And we don't take any money out of the pot and give them that we don't have. We're not spending money ahead of the game. We wait and see if they perform. And if they perform and do these things and the assessment of these businesses go up, then we'll give them a little bit of break on their taxes for a limited amount of time. I think it's the best kind of proposed incentive package that I've seen since I've been on the board. This is not the first one we've done, but this is the way we do most of them now, simply because I don't see how you can lose in this kind of deal. And I'm just simply going to say, I didn't say that at public comment, but Chris, any of you gentlemen can comment, but that's the way I see it. What you got to lose if you don't have it built now, and they're going to build, and you're just going to give them a little bit of discount on the property taxes for a set amount of years. I think it's a good deal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is for the board to consider to adopt the budget calendar for fiscal year 23-24. This was developed by Laura Neely, the finance officer, and submitted for your review and approval.
Everyone's had,
Chairman, I've read over it. It looks what we're used to. I'd go ahead and recommend, I make a motion that we approve the upcoming 24 budget calendar.
I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Marion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. And the ayes have it.
Our final item is a Invest in Surrey update. I've placed it each of your spots, updated spreadsheet with the overall program. Just two items I want to mention this evening. The first is related to public water sewer. A number of meetings back, the board asked Jessica Montgomery and Marty Needham to visit the animal shelter and take a look at some of the impediments there to some future possibilities that the board consider at that facility. And then talking to Jessica this morning, she mentioned that probably the biggest impediment right now is their sewer capacity. Is that true? So we were sort of the opinion right now at the staff level that the best option to solve that issue is going to be public sewer extension from the town. I just mentioned that because we do have $2.2 million allocated right now in Invest in Surrey. As with any of these numbers, those can ebb and flow based on how things turn out with some of the projects that are in motion. However, that's one project you may want to consider for those funds. But as soon as we can sort of formulate a plan there and start talking to engineers about whatever project you choose, that would sort of be the next step in that process. The other is that we have very close to finishing the latest phase of renovations on the first floor of this building. The funding that you allocated in Invest in Surrey went a lot further than expected. Like for you to consider this evening, allowing us to take about another $50,000 out of the balance. There's only 2 rooms down there. One would require quite a bit of demo, the old boiler room, to go ahead and finish those up now, as we feel it would be cheaper to address it now than later, next year in the general fund budget. I know I mentioned this to Commissioner Johnson when he was in last week for another meeting, but wanted to bring that to you this evening because if that would be the board's desire, we would like to go ahead and roll through those last 2 rooms and finish up the complete renovation in the basement.
Would that mean removing the boiler and totally revamping the historic part of that utility room?
No, we would actually leave that old boiler.
I think it's classic.
Yep. I don't think I've met anyone who's looked at that room and thought it should be removed. But a lot of that old piping and electrical, we feel needs to probably be removed, and probably would keep a lot of that historic character in the room, but just get it modern electrical, modern lighting, and HVAC. The other room is the old magistrate's office, which is on the south side of the building. That room is being used by HR, but a lot of important information and documents in that room, but it does need to be modernized as well.
I have a question. Chris and Jessica, and of course Marty's not here. Is there plenty of room for just say another private septic system to go in? Because I think we had, didn't we have some type of an estimated figure to run water and sewer down there a month or 2 ago?
Yeah, it was about this amount. It was just under 2.2 million, but it also included connecting the park and all the restroom facilities at the park as well as Hope Valley.
Okay.
There is the possibility, I can't guarantee this because we haven't had any discussions with the appropriate state agency, but Hope Valley is on its own system. And there's most likely grant dollars available to assist with the project because we would be removing that system, that private system they're on, and putting them on a public system. So that would be one advantage to the project, and we could bring additional funds in that would not require all of this allocation.
I'm certainly open for more information. But going back to the extra 50 to finish the 2 rooms downstairs, I'm certainly would be in favor what monies would be used there, just from general fund or
In the balance here at the bottom, there's a remainder.
balance? Okay,
That number was 285, 219, and that's sort of a not to exceed. I really don't think it's going to come close to that number, but I don't want to have to come back. But Marty's sort of developing those estimates now.
while I have the floor, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, Jessica, could you come up to answer a question, please? Jessica informed me a good while back that we looked at and had a price on using some of these funds as a possibility. It was on down the totem pole for us, but getting water out to the Surry County landfill. And I think, Jessica, you stated that if for some emergency or some ever problem we have down there, the state would make us put water in there. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, sir. If ever any contaminants left the landfill, that would be something they would look at if it had public water.
Do you remember the quotes on that?
I do not. The water project that's going on out there is finished. So that was from that one. So that didn't include mobilization. So we'd have to look at that again.
Well, I'm just saying, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for us not to forget that. We have to make some decisions on how to use this 2.2 and then also a little balance. I might want to move that up a notch or two, possibly, at least consider it to bring that up again and help us with some final decision makings on these funds that we have.
We can get those numbers updated.
Is that okay? I'd like to see what you're proposing at the park, septic, so water, whatever, some figures, and then some options, such as grants, all those things, and also what we can do possibly at the landfill. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chairman, I'll be a yes on the finishing the 2 rooms downstairs.
If you would consider action on, one could be the complete renovations in the basement, and you could include the due diligence on those 2 projects if that's what the board's pleasure is tonight.
I make a motion, we finish the renovation in the basement. Historic courthouse.
A motion by Commissioner Marion to finish the restoration in the basement of the historic courthouse. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Tucker. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. No closed session requests for this evening.
County Commissioner, General County Business. I'll start with Commissioner Marion.
One thing I've got to say, I'm glad those 13 days of early voting's over. And tomorrow, get out and vote, and vote your conscience, vote your God. So it's a big election this year, midterm, and if you buy Elkin tomorrow, I'll be standing there. So get out and vote. Thank you.
Are you on the ballot?
Pretty much.
He is on the ballot. I'd just like to say thank everybody for coming. It looks like we had a fairly light agenda here tonight, and we do. Tomorrow is part of the process, and I think some of these fellows are a little bit interested in making sure their signs are placed wherever they want them placed, and it'll be a big day tomorrow. And but nonetheless, we've brought up a lot of topics tonight and addressed most of them, and we view them all as equally important, and I'm sure we'll talk about them again. And thank you all for coming. I do want to say quickly, and I'll just run it by just for public consumption. On the old Westfield School site, there are still some items. Commissioner Larry Johnston and I went out on the project here a few days ago, and we photographed and detailed most of the items we feel like are left that has some value. We feel like some of these items has little value. A few of them might have a little more value. But it's come to the point to where people are asking questions: what you gonna do with this? What you gonna do with that? What you gonna do with that trophy? My uncle's aunts, first cousins, once removed sister who lives in South Carolina had a trophy there at one time, and we've decided that time's come to probably put that all in one pile and detail it, itemize it, advertise it, probably hire an auctioneer one of these days quickly and have it, or not so quickly, quick as the process can move. We'll have to give it so much public notice, but we'd like to have an auction and sell that stuff. And that means everybody's aware of it, everybody knows about it, everybody, with exception of a few things. We're not going to auction off trophy cases and that. So Ryan, be careful how many calls that get out of the newspaper article on that. The things that we don't feel like we can find a good home for in Surry County without swapping monetary value for them, like, for example, schools may take possession of some of the things. There may be a couple of items in there that are sports trophies that we certainly are not going to auction off and those kind of things. But there's some general stuff in there like tables and chairs and gasoline heaters and propane heaters and refrigerators and coolers. So just to say we'd like to take action on that one night, and I guess that'll require a board vote. And I don't think we'll do that tonight, but just want to throw it out there and let y'all think about it, and maybe just give a little bit of an announcement about we may be headed in that direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everyone coming out this night, and I've been, luckily I've received each night the results of the early election cycle. And it's good to see that I think it's a record number for this type of off-year election, as you call it. Over 25% of the registered voters in Surry County have already voted. And so we still got tomorrow, a big day, let them do it. I have two things there. It was addressed in our open forum. I'm interested in the scenic byway thing on Westfield Road. My question would be to those open forum or our lawyers not here tonight. I can see that because the majority of the people desire that. But my question would be, how can we decide on just one community and not involve the whole county would be a question of mine. Because we're county commissioners, we got to represent the whole county, not just, and so I am interested in some more information and answers on that. I could see if the majority of the people for that long stretch of road, Westfield Road from Bannertown to Westfield, and if that's their desires, I could see that and not interrupt the scenic byway proposition's always been there that we've passed and such as that. And I think I'm interested in more questions being answered and a little more information on that. Also, thanks, Commissioner, for coming over from Rhonda. I think about all of us stated at our last meeting that we were interested in seeing what the resolution says. And that was emailed to me, and I have a few things about it. I am pro-life, but I feel like there is a few exceptions it's my faith, and that's in regards to prayerfully consider the situations pertaining to rape and incest and the life of the mother. And that's my faith and my feelings. It doesn't say that in the resolution, but so it's not on our agenda tonight to make that call or anything, but I just want to know that I stated that last time and I haven't changed, but I've been that way practically my whole adult life. And I don't think I need to change my feelings or my faith. And so everybody has their agency, and it might could go a little bit far this way, a little bit far that way, and most everything, I guess, that we have to decide. But I want to let you know I appreciate you coming and sharing your feelings with us as the folks on Westfield Road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to thank Commissioner Reese for coming over from Rhonda and expressing his opinions to the board. I was very touched by the request from Lifeline Pregnancy Health Center as well as the ministers and the folks that came here a couple of meetings ago. We do have the resolution, and I must say that for some reason or another, last 6-8 weeks for me and many members on this board have been extremely busy. And from my perspective, it hasn't been that, I haven't, that I didn't want to take this up. I certainly do, and I expressed that like Commissioner Johnson did at the meeting. It's just I haven't had time to dissect it and really spend a lot of time looking at the language and the verbiage on this document. And I intend to do that because I am in support of this resolution. And I want to publicly state that, as I have previously. And so I hope in the next couple of meetings, perhaps we can have a discussion about this, and because I think it's very important for Surry County to be on record, or this Board of Commissioners to be on record as being pro-life. I think it's terrible that the United States is the only civilized nation in the Western world that has no restrictions or limits on abortion. All the most liberal social democracies in Europe, they cut it off at 15 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks or something. That's not where I'm at. I'm just saying how extreme our position is in this country. And I think it's, I was very glad the Supreme Court did what they did. And so I'm very ready to take this up here hopefully soon, and we'll get on with the business and hopefully make a decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we appreciate our citizens for coming to speak to us. And we appreciate the passion you have for your communities and for issues like pro-life. We appreciate that. Just, Election Day, good luck to folks that are on the ballot. And remember that Friday is Veterans Day, and the freedoms that we enjoy. There are people who have paid a price for that, and we appreciate our veterans. I know we have a luncheon for them next week for our county employees. Mount Airy has a program on Friday at 11. Always a great program. So if you have time on Friday to come to that program, I'm sure they would appreciate you being there to honor our veterans on Veterans Day. And that's something that's very dear to me. My dad was a veteran, and so that's a big day. So we appreciate everyone being here at this time. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Harris. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Marion. Any discussion?